and to the planets beyond. Our leadership in science and industry, our hopes for peace and security, our obligations to ourselves as well as others, all require us to make this effort, to solve these mysteries, to solve them for the good of all men. There is no strife, no prejudice, no national conflict in outer space as yet. Its hazards are hostile to us all. Its conquest deserves the best of all mankind. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win.
Apollo 11 was caused by an order of John F. Kennedy in 1961, which JFK wanted the end of the Cold War. JFK also wanted the U.S. to win the space race. The first moon landing represents not only for the U.S. but the world. The Apollo program was made to win the space race and also the moon landing, which caused the U.S. to win the space race between July 16, 1969 to July 20th, 1969. According to A&E Networks, on July 20th, 1969, American astronauts Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first humans ever to land on the moon. About 6.5 hours later, Armstrong became the first person to walk on the moon. As he took his first step, Armstrong famously said, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." The Apollo 11 mission occurred 8 years after President John F. Kennedy announced a national goal of landing a man on the moon by the end of the 1960s. The landing of the lunar surface resulted in something historic that everyone could remember, that caused to make new ways to explore space. The Cold War had a big effect on the world, which might have caused another world war, and could also have caused a nuclear war that could have made the world not a habitable place. In 1955, the space race started as a result of the Cold War. The Soviets were the first to send a satellite called Sputnik to space, which in Russian, that means traveler.
9. Ignition sequence start. 6.
On July 24, 1969, Apollo 11 landed on the moon. As a result of the lunar landing, the U.S. won the space race. A&E networks recounted. By landing on the moon, the United States officially won the space race that had begun with Sputnik's launch in 1957. This explains that Sputnik was the cause of the beginning of the space race. The one that caused the end of the space race was the moon landing of Apollo 11, which was more important because if the United States didn't make the moon landing, the world could have been way more different. By 1969, the space race finally comes to an end, by the US making a historical landing on the moon with Apollo 11. The Soviet Union tried also make their own historical landing, but they caused four failed attempts between 1969 and 1972. Since the beginning of and the end of the space race, America's public attention was captivated by the space race. Apollo 11 caused a belief in humans to explore even more into our solar system's life, for example, the Mars rover Opportunity. This is now not in use because of the low battery it has. According to NASA, Opportunity's last words were, "My battery is low and it's getting dark." By 2020, NASA says that they are sending a helicopter to Mars. In April 1961, the Space Shuttle Columbia was made, and it was the first reusable shuttle for many civilian and military space missions.